When I was a college student, I had a chance to go to Alabama and walk across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And at that time, we were celebrating voters' rights. I never thought in a million years that I would be standing in Ohio as a state representative with the same fight of fighting for people to have access, full access, to the voting process in 2012. It is unfortunate that in Ohio, the vote is under attack. Citizens across my district are in outrage, wanting to know why is the vote under attack. Citizens have come up to me saying, as a voter, why have I been called lazy? As a voter, why have I been called a criminal when all I wanted to do was go and vote? As a voter, why are they making it more difficult? Because I work 2 shifts and I want to get to the Board of Elections and be able to vote, but I want to make sure I don't lose my job in the process. Why in Ohio is the vote under attack? After much embarrassment in terms of our voting system across the country, we've been on the national news, we've been in the New York Times about the disparity of voting. Secretary of State Husted responded with what he called a uniform process, a process with the goal of eliminating disparities in Republican and Democratic counties. But the question becomes, in this uniform process, why was weekend hours eliminated? What was wrong with the process we had where we had weekend hours and more people having access to vote? What was wrong with the process that we had where 93,000 voters in Ohio took advantage of weekend and evening extended hours in 2008? It is unfortunate that our Secretary Husted, in some regards, has bullied Board of Election members in other counties, threatening to fire them. These are qualified officers whose only goal was to have more access so that voters can participate. Secretary Husted has stated that weekend hours are too expensive. And I find that funny because I certainly believe that taxpayers deserve a return on their investment. They pay for the election process, and we should provide hours for them to vote, including weekend hours. Voting on weekends in every county or voting on weekends in large county are the answers. One way or the other, these additional hours are needed and should be provided to the voters of Ohio. African Americans, poor, women, and elderly voters have taken advantage of early in-person voting, a voting bloc that has been described to support the Democratic ballot. Husted's directive is a partisan ploy to suppress access to these voters. I was outraged when I read a comment made by Doug Price, the chairman of the Franklin County Republican Party and chairman of the Franklin County Board of Elections, when he said, I quote, "I guess I really actually feel we shouldn't contort the voting process to accommodate the urban." Voter turnout machine. I represent an urban district. Why can't urban folks have access to vote? Today we're calling on having a system that actually worked. Weekend hours and access to be restored to all voters in urban districts, non-urban districts, and across the state of Ohio. We have a problem in my district dealing with provisional ballots, which is another issue around the state that I'm also calling on Secretary Husted to deal with. 1 out of every 109 provisional ballots is thrown out in Hamilton County. In Franklin County, the number is 1 out of every 110. For Cuyahoga, it is 1 out of 91. Suburban and rural counties have much lower percentages. Pike County, for example, threw out 1 out of 1,250. statewide, Ohio threw out 39,989 provisional ballots in 2008. These are people's votes that were thrown out. Voters in Hamilton County, which is my district where I'm from, had to wait 2 years for a juvenile district judge race to be decided because of problems with not having a uniform provisional ballot counting system. I introduced a bill in 2011 before it became political to say let's deal with these issues to ensure voters are not unjustly penalized for poll worker error and that every proper vote is counted. Unfortunately, the bill has only received one hearing. I've called for Speaker Batchelder to get the bill out on the committee floor and move forward. But today I'll reaffirm my call for Secretary Husted to address this issue promptly. Representative Clyde pointed out that Ohio has fewer precincts this election compared to 2008, which could create an even bigger problem as it relates to provisional ballots. More voters going to fewer precincts will increase chances of poll worker error, but we have no system of dealing with it. Husted needs to act before tens of thousands of voters are disenfranchised in this November election, like they were in the last election that we just recently had. We need to end the polarization of voting issues. Voting is not a party issue. It's not Democrat. It's not Republican. It's not a race issue. It's not black. It's not white. It's not Latino. Voting is an American issue. And we're calling on Secretary Husted to go above the fray in the polarization and have a system that Ohio can be proud of.